Hey everybody, it's Adam Scougall here. Welcome to the Australian Interior Design Advice Group. Really pleased to be coming back in this week after a little bit of hiatus. We're kind of 1 week on, 1 week off, or sometimes every week. But it's kind of a chilled environment here. But thank you for joining us today. I'm really pleased to speak to a very talented gentleman sitting there virtually next to me. Today I've got Christopher Melotti from Melotti Media joining me. How are you today, Christopher?
I'm very well, Adam. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm really good, thanks, Chris. I'm calling you Chris. I just
No,
checked
that's
in on
fine.
that.
Chris
We're all
is
good
fine.
with Chris.
I got asked that today as well. I was like, oh, yeah. I thought people usually just default to Chris, but Christopher is fine, whichever.
Yeah. No, it's good to check in. So, but really pleased to have you on the show, Chris. You and I mean, we've worked together now. So I've gone through the whole process with you of creating some really exciting copy. I'm probably preempting myself a bit here, but I engaged Chris to provide me with some cool copy for an upcoming podcast that I'm going to be launching. So we'll leave it at that in terms of the detail. But it's also too, Chris, I mean, I know that you're kind of probably going to take over here and tell me the importance of how important it is to have great copy. I'm also going through a process of evaluating website to do with this new direction I'm going in. I'm also looking at some other stuff like video and a video series and Facebook ads, and everything comes back to copy. Like, how good is the copy in what you're about to try and really, for lack of a better word, sell to your audience, because that's going to be the make or break. So I'm really pleased to have you on because you've been doing this for years. I'd like to give you an official intro, Chris, if I can, and just go through. So Chris's goal is not really to just write the words, but demonstrate the potential words offer businesses. That's what I love as a cute little sort of nutshell about what you do, Chris. So Melotti Media is your business, and you've been running that for, how long have you been running Melotti Media for?
So I would say it's been in existence for about 6 years and full-time 3. So,
right.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So we might as well just launch in, Chris. So tell us about your journey into where you are today, in your journey into copy and setting up Melotti Media.
Sure. So, well, thank you, Adam, for having me today, and hi to everyone who's watching either live or afterwards. So yes, my story is basically, I come from a marketing background. So I've been a marketing professional for over 15 years now, and I worked in many corporate environments. And it was during this time that I discovered the importance of copy and words. And I do also marketing strategy as part of my copywriting services. But it was where, like you mentioned in your intro, I found that words were where a lot of the power came from. Because if you think about it, words make up the way that you write your strategy, the way that you write your website, your ads, your video scripts, everything. Like, I'm even doing AI bot writing at the moment, and voice search copywriting and all these kind of things. So all these new forms of marketing are coming around, and they all still rely on words. And so what I've been doing over the last years is, when I started to set up my own business, Melotti Media, it was building and building quite fast. And I found that there was a big need for people like yourselves who needed copy. And so but it was also the fact that people liked me because I had the marketing background. It wasn't just, I'm not just a person that thinks they can write well. It's more like I look at the holistic approach to copywriting. And so as my business started to grow, I left my corporate profession behind and went full time and backed myself, and here we are today.
Fantastic. Could I just touch in there, Chris? Sure. You just said that your marketing background is really helping you to sort of elevate the copy component to the business. I mean, are other copywriters, I mean, I don't even know the journey to get into to making copy, but are there copywriters out there that aren't well versed in marketing? Probably sounds like
a dumb question. No, it is. So, okay. So for me, not to pile on or anything like that, but for me, copywriting is a marketing practice, right? Just like anything other, like ad writing, it's all involved in the essence of marketing. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to use words to compel people to be engaged with your message and to be interested and be involved and to resonate with your brand. And you need to have a framework of marketing to do this. And so you get two types of copywriters. You get the people that are people that want to that like to write and want to give it a go, and they are usually tend to be cheaper, on the cheaper side. But what you get is exactly what you brief. So for example, if you were to say I need a letter or I need an email, they don't understand the marketing behind it. They just write you an email. Right. So they write it nice and pretty, but they give you an email. Whereas a marketing copywriter with the marketing experience, what we do is you come to us and say, I need an email. And I say, why? And you will say, like we did with your process, it's why do you need an email? Who are you targeting? What's the response that you want to get? What's their background? Do they know about your brand? Where are they up to in the customer journey? All these kind of questions allow me to write a message or an email that's tailored towards getting you results rather than just sounding pretty. And that's the difference. And it's a hard one because a lot of people will sell them as the marketing side, but they don't actually have that. And so it's important that the person that if you're approaching a copywriter to get help with things, you want to make sure they've got a marketing background. Otherwise, you might as well write it yourself because that's the difference, if that makes sense.
Right, okay, because I've never really, to be honest with you, Chris, I've never really thought about it. I just thought, well, these are people that are well-versed in marketing and they can write good copy. But I guess you're right. I mean, we can all, if we think hard enough, probably come up with a fairly decent email or blurb about ourselves. But it's really, if it's falling flat on our ideal audience, and then we're kind of missing the boat. And I think too, Chris, when you get deeper into the whole funnel of for someone who's building their email list and they might be a blogger and they're talking to, I was talking to you actually about Facebook ads. Not that we want to make this about a Facebook ad discussing copy and Facebook ads, but I was just really in the importance of, if you're going to spend a lot of money on Facebook ads to get people into a funnel, some people are doing ads to get new clients into their email funnel so they can speak to them, or potential clients. So, and I'm thinking, if you've got a really sort of unstructured, sort of boring approach to these ads, you might get half the numbers that you really need to get the audience you're after.
Yeah, and that's what we try and do as professional marketing copywriters, is we ask you these questions and we make sure that you're not too close to the project. So, for example, if you say, "Oh, this is what we want to, this is what we want to tell people," and for me, my job is to say to you, like yourself, Adam, where is your customer in this stage? And you'll go, no, they know about me and they know about interior design. I'm like, well, hold on, let's take it one step back. Where are they a price conscious kind of client? Are they people that don't know what interior designers do? Or are they at a point where they've got multiple options and they're looking for the right deal? So knowing all that will help you get more traction. It's about knowing where you are in your and how you're trying to target people. That's sort of how a copywriter can add the most value, is by making sure that you're targeting the message correctly. If that makes sense.
Really interesting, Chris, because I was just thinking that too. And I guess it's if we talk about brand, some of what you just mentioned there was really actually clarifying the question, which was one I had for you, which was about how, if I come to you, Adam Scougall Design, and I say, look, Christopher, I'm not really feeling that great about how I present on the website. I've had feedback, it's a bit pedestrian. I really want to smarten things up. I want to make it a lot more exciting. I mean, you mentioned a couple of things there about, who is the audience, but if I just sort of threw it out there and said, how do you really, I mean, there's questions there about clarifying who my target audience is, but what else is part of this whole journey that you go through with new clients to really kind of nail the copy?
Look, I find that it's almost like I liken it to professional coaching, if you will. Like, I don't mean it that hard, but it's like marketing coaching to get you. See, a lot of clients will say, "Hey, I just need something written," but actually, what they need is to be coached into finding them into a spot where they are ready to share what they actually need from a project. I'll give you an example. I wrote a website last week for a print and signage company, and they had just rebranded. And what they said to me was, here's a competitor. I want to be like them. And when I went through it and when we chatted online, when we started talking about it, I realized that they actually wanted the opposite of that competitor. But they didn't realize that themselves. What they wanted to do was, instead of just offering a banner, right? Like a banner shop, they wanted, like, instead of just buying a banner, what they wanted to be was a holistic marketing solution. So, for example, a client comes to them and they say, I don't need a banner. Here's an event that's coming up. You tell me what I need. And so when I coached them through this process on Zoom, that was when they went, oh my gosh, that's what we want. And so that changed the entire way that we wrote that website, because it went from being a transactional service to a solution, like a holistic solution. And so how we wrote the website was not, we do banners, we do prints, we do this. It was more, we are your offsite marketing solutions team, if you will. And so that's what comes from taking the coaching process. And usually I do that for free, because what I want to do is I want to get the best result from your writing. And I can only get that when I get you to tell me what you actually need, if that sort of makes sense. So it's a hard thing.
Yeah, interesting, Chris. So it's really, I mean, the first thing that pops up for me is that we don't know what we don't know. So, exactly. and it's interesting. I think it's similar. You were just talking about the journey that you go through with clients that say, we want this, this, and this. But you know, because you're the one with the expertise around how that's going to present to the world, yes. You know that it isn't as simple as what people think they need. You've got to dive down in there and kind yes. of pull out some of those nuggets and say, well, actually, what you thought you needed was this, but I know you need this. And yes. It's not a laundry list of services. It's kind of the story behind where they're eventually going to get to. So it's sort of the same in interior decorating and design. People say, oh, we want you to do this or that. And you're like, no, you really, if you do this or that, you might think it's going to be fabulous, but it's actually a bit of a disaster. So it sounds like it's getting into the whole, it's a lot more, there's a lot more thought behind it than I think we realise with good copy, isn't there, Chris?
Yeah, and that's the best part about us talking today, is that you and your audience relate to this so much. You're in exactly the same position. Yeah. It's like you just said. People say, "I want a this kind of theme," and then you, if you were a low quality one, you'd be like, "Okay," and off you would go. And then this is what would happen: you delivered that, and then they'd go, something's not right. Right. Whereas if you take the time to speak to them and you say, okay, what do you want to achieve with this? What is it that your home is supposed to, what do you want your home to feel like? What emotions do you want to trigger? When you coach them through that process, just like with copy, they will actually accidentally tell you what they really want. And it's, if you do your job right, like if I do my job right, what you deliver, they'll go, yes, that's what I wanted. But sometimes they can't get you there unless you intervene and sort of ask them the right questions and drive it out of them and get them where they want to be. So you can relate as well. Yeah. Same profession.
I was just thinking, Chris, so you've just helped me with some quite creative and quite out there copy for a reason.
Which was fun.
You met the brief because that's what I asked for. If I'd have written the same copy, it probably would have been a much blander version than what you gave to me, because I probably would think that it's too risky to use some of the words that you used.
Yes.
But whereas you're going, no, go hard.
People are wondering what it is now.
Yeah, no. But can I just ask you, so I know your experience, you work with a lot of corporations, Chris. You're also working with creatives, but what is the big difference? I'm just interested, if you're working for a corporate or even a small business in quite a sort of white collar industry, how do you approach that as opposed to working with an artist or an interior designer?
So the process is exactly the same, but the output is always different. So for example, I work with a lot of financial firms, and they obviously what they want me to do is they want me to push the boundary, but not too much. So if it's about a financial product, for example, they will say, they will deliver me something that's very bland. Like they'll say, this is the financial product, this is what it has to be, this is what it needs to say. And that's when I apply the process. I'll say, who are we targeting? And they'll say, retirees. And I'll say, okay, why should they care? What's their main challenge? What do you want to communicate to them? How are you relevant? That's another really big point. How are you relevant to them? Okay, and there's all these things. And then what happens is, then I write the message around that approach. And what they get back is they will often then go, ooh, it's not how we would usually do it. I'm like, yeah, but the way that we've done it is because you haven't thought about the way your customers interact with your brand. You only think about your brand. It happens with a lot of corporates like pharma, legal, finance. They are quite conservative, and they're sometimes out of touch with their clients. And so a corporate often employs me to make their quite bland and dry topic a little bit more relatable and targeted to a client, to a customer. Whereas a creative like yourself, what you will often do, same process, I will ask you exactly what I did when we worked together is, what do you want to achieve? Where's your customer base? What is it that you're trying to go for? Where's your brand positioned? All those kind of things. But usually what happens is a creative person like yourself is willing to take more risks and is willing to say, hey, I know that my industry is cluttered. Here is somewhere where I can play in. And that's where the difference is. So same process, slightly different outcome.
Interesting. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Chris. So what are 3 things that we could do if people are watching today, whenever they get to watching? If they're not watching now, could be watching later tonight. But what are 3 things that we can do ourselves to discover and kind of nail our brand in terms of copy? If we're just looking at just that sort of big picture and doing a bit of a quick review ourselves before we maybe engage a professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, my advice to everyone who is attempting to write copy is number one is really define your audience. So what I mean by that is, see, a lot of people go, I know my audience. But when we actually talk about it, they'll go, oh, they're men and women. And you'll go, anything, what else, right? So my advice is, the step 1 is really define your audience, okay? Number 2 is define their challenges, their pain points, whatever that may be. So it could be time poor, and delve deep. It could be that they're emotionally feeling rejected, or they could be feeling a bit lost, or they want their home to really represent themselves and they feel like they can't get it there. What they want to entertain and be proud of their space. They want to be bold and make a statement to all of their other fellow mums and dads. Whatever it is, don't be afraid to define what their actual pain point is. And then the third tip is, does my website and all of my collateral, my socials, does it attract that person? And that's what it is. If you go and look at your website and you think about it, and you go, my main client is an XYZ, right? And you read your website again, I guarantee you'll go, oh, I wrote this website for me, right? Rather than I wrote this website for them. And this is what I do is, like, I wrote a website for a coach recently, and she wanted to be a leadership coach. And she was opposed to the word mentor and consultant and all these sort of things. But when we did the research, we found that her client or her ultimate customer doesn't differentiate those names. They call that service the same. They see a client as a mentor, they see it the same. So what we did was, she was against using those words at first. But then when we researched her clients and went, oh, they actually call you that, what we did was included it in there and then educated people around what a coach is. And to see how it's having the courage to be able to say, this is what my customer is looking for. This is what's going to get me leads. This is what's going to get them in my door. And it's not pandering to them. It's making sure that it's relatable and that it's relevant. I keep going back to that relevancy thing. Is this relevant and inspiring to my ideal client in every page? Sorry, I get passionate, so I won't shut up. So forgive me. I'll just keep talking until you tell me to stop. But and what I find is that most people come to me because they will say, I've given it a go, and they'll say something like, I hate what I wrote, I don't understand what I'm doing, or I don't have the time. That's really where they, like, people don't often search me first. They will write it themselves and then they'll go, I just hate this, or it's not working, or I just don't have the time, or I hate it. And that's when they come to me.
Chris, do you ever sort of sometimes read it back to them and say, this is what you've written and this is what you should be saying? I think a lot of the time, if you remove yourself from the picture and you've got that third person, which is you, in there, sometimes it's quite illuminating, you know, how sort of probably dull some of our approach is to what we want to be exciting.
Yeah, see, the idea is to help them get into a better space, and some people can get offended. And so my goal is not, and for me, my goal is not to trump that, not to insult people. Definitely not. My goal is to show them ways that they can improve in a positive light, not say the way that you're doing it is wrong. Because often, who says that I'm 100% right all the time? What I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to say, like, for example, with yours, Adam, I will say to you, not this is wrong. I'll say, Adam, tell me, does your homepage appeal to your audience? And you might say, yes, it does. And I go, oh, let's dissect it. And I'll say, this is this is that, does that? And you might go, oh, that doesn't quite. And I'll go, okay, where could we take this where it would? Yeah. And how can we arrange this better? And then what happens is you get on a roll, because you might say, oh my gosh, here's a question. Like, I might say, what question do you get asked? And you go, oh, I always get asked about this. And I'll go, let's put that on your page. And that's how we build. So it's see how a marketing copywriter builds it like this, not just, yes, Adam, I'll do that for you. It's how can we collaborate to get it into a space where it's actually going to work? That's the difference there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's so much to think about.
Like, I can see your mind ticking over. You've like lost your track of questions. Like you initially going to ask.
No, I'm just, there's so much that there's so much more to it. It's like anything, you know. People think we throw a couple of cushions around and that's our job.
And this is and
it's a lot more to that.
Who I know is probably listening.
Oh yeah, Julie.
I know Julie Parmax very well from 3 Marks of Existence, and she was the one who introduced us, but also the fact that she has been the one that has enlightened me, because there's been times where, like, I don't work with interior designers all the time. So when you hear her say, this is how we put stuff together, this is how we do things, here's how, but she does the same thing. She listens to her clients and does it. And that's why our industries can relate to each other, is because we take our customers on a journey like this.
Exactly. Yeah. So what are the big mistakes we make when we're doing our copy? What are the things that people should look at today? Look across all of their stuff and say, am I doing any of these things? Because I need to nix them straight away. What are they?
Okay, so one would be unrelatable. And so what I mean by that is that something that a customer doesn't care about. Often it comes down to features. So, and not that features are bad, but it should always start with benefit. So a feature is a tangible part of your service or product. Like, for example, I'm low cost, all right? Whereas a benefit is, we're budget conscious, right? So see how the benefit takes a feature and makes it in relevance to someone. So for example, instead of saying something like we work fast, it's we work around your timetables, or we make this process painless for you. So see how you've got to really delve into your customer, what matters to your customer, and appeal to that. So that would be number one, is making sure that you are addressing what they care about. Number two would be, don't use jargon. Like, not that your industry doesn't really go too much into jargon, but just keeping it accessible so that people understand, because that's what they want to do. Another thing is emotion. You have the ability as interior designers to use emotion to connect. So make sure that, see, for you, even though you're passionate people, it is still a job for you. But for another person, it's a home. It's a family home. It's a living space. It's a sanctuary. So what you want to be doing is protecting that and making sure that you are coming across as empathetic and saying, we're not here to strip everything back and charge you a lot. We are here to make you proud every day to come home. And so if you connect with people on that level and show them that they can trust you because you care for their home as much as they do, those kind of messages work. Another one is making sure you've got social proof. on your website and on all your collateral, make sure you've got testimonials, case studies, things that help people like understand what you do and feel more confident in how you work. Those kind of things are really good. So I could go on forever. How many more do you want?
Well, I've just got a couple of questions, Chris, because I find this quite interesting. And I've got a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Because there's a couple of things we do as decorators and designers is I've got a couple of things here. First and foremost, what do you think of the services page? So a lot of the time we offer 3D renderings, space planning, project management, and they're kind of quite dry. And, you know, a lot of us would automatically think, well, we need to let our clients know what we can offer. 3D rendering is a mock-up of what visually we want the kitchen to look like afterwards. It's a computer-aided image, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But how, you know, when I'm listening to you then, this is also a motive.
Yes.
The home is to be enjoyed. It's to make things easier. We want to feel loved. We want to feel warm. But then we've got, you know, we regularly will throw out all of these services that are they're not particularly emotional. They're very like point. What do you think about the services page, and specifically, what can we do if we're just sort of barking out our services in quite a black and white way on our site?
Yeah. Okay. This is a huge rabbit hole. This is a big question, but I can give you my honest response. So so what I would do is, number one, is make a service page for each of those services because of SEO. Okay, so for search engine optimization.
We've got a question on that too, Chris.
And I'll touch on that. What I mean is, but this is a very top line, everybody. So I will go into more detail if you need to use me. But what I would say is create a service page for every one of your services, because Google likes it that way. If you create just one service page with everything in there, what's happening is you're missing out on opportunities to get ranked by Google. So for my website, for example, under my services page, I have website copywriting as one page. I have SEO as one page. I have what else do I have here? I've got marketing consultation and all these sort of things as individual pages, so that for maximum SEO impact. So that's the first thing I would say. And there you can use the dry titles, like you can use 3D rendering and all that sort of thing, because Google ranks you on what it's actually called. Now, what I would do in terms of the copy in what you relate to your client. Now, this is also a branding question, because, and this is why it's such a big question, but this is also a branding thing. For example, if you are a brand that likes to be black and white, then you might use that. You might say 3D rendering is our service. But if your brand is more accessible and more relatable, then you might decide to call it something like, you might change the whole angle and say, it might be something like, to warm it up, this is off the top of my head, it might be computer modeling, right? See how that's slightly different. It's a slightly more accessible word for the average person. And then what your page should be doing is not saying, it's defining what 3D modeling is. Technically, it should be saying something like, we believe in showing you design before you live it. Right?
Love that. Love
that. See that? And then it might be something
love
like
that.
So instead of saying we use a computer advanced CAD model to put it, we say we what we try and do is, so that we don't go too far down the process and so that you feel in control, we give you a fully rendered capture of what your home will look like if we go down this option, so that then, this is how you picture it, so that then you can feel comfortable in seeing your home in front of you before we do anything, right? So see how I'm using it to reassure my clients on what they are actually looking to do. So instead of saying, here's a 3D model, we use a computer, it's more like, we are able to present to you your home with our proposal, so you can see every inch of what you're looking for. You know, and you can even go further and say, we also then allow you to make tweaks so that we can do it live for you, So then you can see how your home will look if we change this or change that. So you can say that before we even start the process, you're fully aware of how your home is going to look. Do you see how that kind of wording reassures people? So it takes it away from the feature, which is the 3D model, and it takes it towards a benefit where it's here's how this gives you more control, makes you feel more comfortable. You can see where your budget is allocated, etc., etc. See how it puts to rest a lot of my concerns as an average person, a non-interior designer person. Suddenly I feel in control, I feel reassured.
Yeah.
Do you see that?
Yes,
Sorry,
Chris.
that's very top of the line. There's a whole
I was going to say,
on that.
I had to jump in. This is being recorded, and part of what you just said, I think I might just literally steal and put on my site.
When I write it for you, we will. I'll write it even better for you.
No, but it's really interesting. I just think the real nuggets there, Chris, because so if I provide 3D renderings in the Philippines and I've got 20 people in an office with computers and we sell them for $200 each USD, then I'm going to talk about 3D modeling, blah, blah, blah. But most of us are still pumping out these little point forms on our services page. And what you're saying is you gave us a lot of great information about SEO and separating the pages, for example. But what you also tapped in, which I think is genius, is just people don't know what a 3D rendering is, but they do want to feel like they've got the opportunity to see their kitchen before they have to commit all that money, or feel that they can really live their space and feel comfortable with what they're going to get.
And to see
however you described it was better than me, but
that's the pain point. See how people often overlook these pain points. They go, oh, I know my client is kind of this or that, but if you actually delve into the emotional pain points, they are worried about the cost. They are worried about what you're going to do to their home. Not that I'm saying that it's just everyone. Like, think about a financial planner. The financial planner is there to do the best job for you, but as a customer, you're still wondering, what are they going to do with my money? How is this going to, they've got all these fears. And if you address the copy towards making them all go away, you win the sale.
Yes. Especially in the residential market, which is all about people. It's about home, and it's not about just knocking out a service page with one page with 5 points. We did have a question from Margot. Yes. I think you've answered it, haven't you, Chris?
Well, that's okay. We can go into a bit more. I remember you asking.
Yeah, so Margot in the group, who was actually on as one of my guests, lovely.
Hi,
Margot Klockman. She did ask, she said, hey, Adam, a cool name. She said, I'm looking forward to your chat with Chris on Wednesday. The question was about SEO. Any tips to integrate SEO into your copy in a seamless way without it sounding contrived? So have we kind of answered that? I think in a way bit, you have.
What I would do is, what you do is you research the keywords. So like I have tools and things that research keywords. And then what we do is we find the most popular words for each page. And then we integrate them into your copy. But to answer your question, Margot, is that it must sound natural. So not just for your clients and your customers and your visitors of your website, but it also needs to sound like Google actually monitors it for overuse. So for example, if you, on your 3D modeling page, if you say, we use 3D modeling to do this, 3D modeling does that, 3D modeling is a way that we do this, and 3D modeling offers this, that quickly, first of all, you're going to annoy your clients, which is completely counterproductive, but also Google picks that up. Google, look how advanced it is now. Like, it knows that you're spamming your words. So what I try and do is write it. All the SEO people that I talk to tell me to write naturally and then assess where the words are in the copy and see if it's integrated enough. People tend to say that a page with around 500 words should mention a keyword around 3 times in the text. This is a big rule, like this rule of thumb, but in general, you look at the top, say, 5 keywords on a page and you say, how can I integrate them naturally? And what a trick that I gave you to give to Margaret, which I'll tell you now, is you can often use a lot of those keywords in titles. They are a way so that you don't affect the customer's journey. So what, for example, is through, if you're using the 3D modeling, for example, right? Just an example, you might use the title, what is 3D modeling? How does 3D modeling work? What does 3D modeling do for me? When you've done that in 3 titles across the page, you've technically ticked the SEO box for that word or phrase. So don't spam it if you can get away with making it natural. And that comes with experience, really, when it comes down to it.
Really good information, Chris. Yeah, I think you nailed that one. I think the big takeaways for me is just to get into the emotion side and what this service is actually doing for them to make the client feel confident and secure in whatever they're going to embark on, because it's an expensive industry. As anyone would know, any renovation's expensive. Decoration, it's not a cheap service for the most part. So
but that's actually a good point.
Yeah.
Is that sorry, I didn't mean to stop you, but that like a lot of interior designers, decorators, and your industry would often have that quote unquote hidden fear that they are too expensive for a lot of clients. So what you should be doing is reassuring people about all of your benefits and all of the things that you do. Like, for example, I hire an accountant. I hire a financial planner. Now, these are things that I could do, but when I've spoken to them, they've said, we take away all of it, our expertise, we deliver results and all these kind of things. And I've gone, well, look, for the money, it's better for me to give it to you. And I have the same thing, is that people can write, but will they get results? I'm hoping that my value overwhelms the need for the cost situation. And so when you're with your website, you should be aiming to attract the people that can afford you, and that you reassure them that every dollar is going to maximize their value.
Just so, yeah, I was just thinking, I mean, Chris, I mean, a lot of what you've spoken through then, I can sort of see in other industries. I just see this huge gap for us as designers, for a lot of us, especially probably the solopreneurs out there, is that we normally, a standard version of our copy will be, we make sure that your home is yours and not our taste. And that's as far as we go with our copy. Oh. We just want to let them know that we're not going to put our taste, not push our stuff onto them. It's all about them and their home and what their tastes are. But what you've just gone through is this whole other side to what we need to really get our heads around, which is the value proposition in a really non-threatening way.
Value, always
especially
value.
This year, Chris, I think I was talking to you before, with COVID and everything else, some people are still willing to part with the dollars, and some people really need that validation that the money they're going to spend at this time with all this uncertainty is going to be an investment that's well spent and well thought of. And the way you put a lot of those scenarios together really, I took a lot away from that. And I think if anyone today's listening, I think some real nuggets there from Chris.
And here's a tip, guys. Think about it this way. Think about opportunity. Right now, where are people spending most of their time? At home.
At home, yeah.
Right? So right now, everyone in this group should be doing a campaign saying, have you noticed that your home is not right for you? Have you noticed that there's a lot of potential in your home? Where do you feel a bit claustrophobic that now that you've been at your home? Are you comfortable working at home? This is right now, if you actually think about the opportunity that you all have, this is a phenomenal time right now to be jumping on this opportunity of saying people have never been in their homes for longer than they have right now. And guess who makes homes better? This is where interior designers, decorators, and your whole industry should be playing, is not thinking, oh, no one's going to use us because we're too expensive because people are budget tight. You should be thinking, where are people thinking, my home, is it quite what I wanted it to be? Now that I've spent countless hours isolated at home, maybe should get an interior decorator or a designer to come in and make it what I want it to be. And
Chris, no one's going to travel.
Yeah.
So how about making their home that kind of resort, or the backyard or whatever?
Yeah.
The resort that they're not going to get to in Thailand or wherever they're going.
And what I would be doing is maybe making your copy, like you said before, Adam, non-threatening, saying it's a non-obligation meeting to just discuss, because that's another barrier that people often have, is they go, if I call Adam, I'm in, right? But if you diffuse that and say, listen, call me because and in your copy, in your video, whatever you're trying to do, say, call me for just a general chat, a 15-minute free discussion to discuss your home. What'll happen is they'll stay on the phone with you for 45 minutes and you'll probably convert them, because by the end of the conversation, they go, you know what? You are exactly what I've been looking for. I've just been too afraid to call. And if you just make it non-accessible, that's what your website copy should be doing is you know, when you go to a trade event and you see the stand, right?
We remember those, Chris.
Yes,
we remember when we had trade events.
So when you have a trade event, think about how you are as a delegate, right? You go around and you see the trade event there. Let's say you're not the trade itself. You look and you go, I'm interested, but I don't want to go too close because they might start talking to me, right? So all of your banners and all of your display should be doing the selling for you, so you feel not threatened to go up to them. That's your website. So how are you making people feel? Because they're what they call a digital interview. People are digitally interviewing you before they touch base with you. So how is your website copy? How is your videos? How is all your social media telling them that you are approachable?
Great advice. Great insight, Chris. And I mean, we haven't, I don't think I've had this lengthier conversation with you about the topic, except for my own project, but really great insight there, and lots of amazing information for people to take away. So I'm just going to say thank you, Chris. I am interested though, Melotti, what do you see happening, or what would you like to happen with Melotti Media in the next couple of years?
Well, I have a fantastic team of 3 other ladies that help me as well. And so we're growing quite fast. So for me, my goal is to just continue to work with phenomenal brands that I get inspired by. And I don't mean to inflate your ego, but like yours, you're kind of, and sorry, I know people are going to say that's a cop out, but it really is like the most interesting ones are the ones that are willing to take their brand. They're willing to be excited. Everyone plays conservatively, and this is what happens is the conservative brands are all the same, and that's when they fight over price, because there's nothing to separate them.
Commodity.
Whereas when a brand says, you know what, I'm not saying you have to be bonkers or swear or anything like that, but if you want to be a bit more outrageous or a bit more personality driven, that's where it's fun for me and it's rewarding for you, like, and a brand. And so that's where I want to take my brand, is to make us more into those ones where they go, Chris and his team, they're the ones that they're not average, you know. And that's what I rebranded to this lovely branding, is because we changed ourselves from copywriters to message marketers, because that's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to do is we are more than copywriters, we are message marketers. That involves 4 elements of creative design, content marketing, strategy, and copywriting. So copywriting is just one part of what we do.
That's exactly what you were saying before. It's less about the black and white,
and more about
what it is. It's about, what's the emotion behind that.
Yeah.
And how does it feel? What you do is, what did you call yourself?
Message marketers.
Message marketing. Yeah, it's the same thing. So that was really illuminating, Chris. Thank you for spending the time today.
You're welcome. I'm honored to be a part of it. Thank you. And thank you for everyone watching. I hope you all learned a lot and it was really valuable for you.
Yeah. So we'll put, Chris, we'll put your details in the chat box. I've had the one thing I just want to say, Chris, I know you didn't want to do any kind of, you wanted people to be able to, if they wanted to reach out to you, it's up to them. But because what I have done in the past personally is I've seen people speak at public events, and I've really wanted to know more about how I can work with them and what their process is in a bit of a nutshell. We've spoken about that today in detail, but if somebody wants to reach out to you, Chris, and they are interested, copy's pretty important. I've just done it. What's the process, and what can they look to in a nutshell? What are they looking at if they're looking at some rejuvenation of their own website?
Yeah, look, the reason why I don't quote prices is because I know what you were getting at. I'm just saying, just to alleviate that, it's very hard. Every single project is so different. Yeah. And so saying a price means that it could be anything. Like a 1 page could be very different to a 5 page, or even a 5 page could be cheaper than a 1 page, depending on what you're trying to do. So what it is the best way is if you reach out to me, we have a chat and we discuss everything. We discuss what you're doing, where you are, where you're not, where your goals are, what your clients
jump on
are
a
doing.
discovery call.
Yeah, because
perfect.
I can only everything is so different. There's no such thing as the same project, as you would know. And so
exactly.
that would be like me saying, how much for my home? You know, like you'd be like, oh, like how many rooms have you got? What have you got? You know, and that's what I'm trying to do is you can't just say how much for a home, how much for a blog, because everything is different. So like you, I'm not threatening. Like I don't sit there and go, oh, we've talked now, you have to use me. For me, I just want to answer your questions, make you feel comfortable. If I'm not the right match, not a problem. If I'm the right match, fantastic.
So jump on a discovery call with you. Do you have a calendar or something people can?
I do.
Or just give you a call?
You can go onto my website. I've got all my details there, or you can submit a form, whatever works for you, and we can set up a time, have a chat, make you feel comfortable.
Beautiful. Well, very good, Chris. Thank you so much. We'll finish off there. Melotti Media, guys. I'll put the website, Chris, in the notes after this. People will also too, Chris, probably they're not watching now, they'll watch later. So you might get some questions in there. So
fine. Love
you're
questions.
happy for me to just flag that with you and get a response on probably some, you've just such interesting information today. I'm sure there's going to be questions. I'm just going to reach out to you and just touch base with you to make sure we get the questions answered. So thanks so much, Chris. You have a fantastic rest of the week. And,
thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Everybody else have a fantastic rest of the week, and we'll see you again
safe.
very shortly. Ciao. See you guys.